Come in. Martin, my friend Martin and I were just talking about riches, money. That should attract a crowd, usually does. Martin said this. Well, despite my missing a couple of notes there, you probably recognize that as Tevye in Fiddler on the Roof, singing If I Was a Rich Man. We can all identify with that. It's a delightful song from a marvelous musical, and one that most of us can identify with. Sometime or other, we've kind of wished if we weren't at least rich that we had a bit more. Well, how about what they call the smart money? How does the smart money deal with this? The people who really know how to do this. But to introduce that, I have a tragic story I need to warn you up front. It's a sad story. I read it years ago about a man who wanted to do exploring. He went out of this country. It was very uncivilized, as it were. And he hired some people to help him, bearers to carry the stuff. And he took some of them with him as he went in to buy supplies and equipment for this great adventure he was going to have. And they saw him. He'd get this good stuff, exciting stuff with food, equipment, lots of things. And then he'd just take out a little book and he'd write a note in it and give it to the people. And they'd give him the stuff. They said, wow, that's a magic book. It was, of course, a checkbook. Unfortunately, these people were not acquainted with a number of things, and they ended up killing the man and stealing the magic book. How far did they get, do you suppose, trying to spend that money? Not very far. Tragic story. But also tragic is the fact that we see that around us all the time. And we may even tend to participate in it some, and that is we sell a life for things of the world. Unfortunately, sometimes it's our own life. By that I mean sometimes we trade big parts of our life, our efforts, our energies, our ideas, and to get the things of this world. Now, obviously, a certain number of things we need to survive. But I'm going to talk about when we just get hungry to have these things. How does that work out? Well, we're dealing in very short-term kinds of increase in our goods, what we want. But it's not a long-range view. We're ignoring the, shall we say, the economics of heaven, where things are much longer than this. If we were thinking in terms of that, who of us wouldn't give 10% of what we have as a tithe, wouldn't be willing to give more if it were as an offering to help those less fortunate than ourselves? Just good practices. If we did that, and we knew that if we did, then the person who owns all these good things would open up. Well, let's read it. This is from the book of Malachi. It's also in 3rd Nephi. This is the Lord speaking. Bring ye all the tithes into the storehouse, that there may be meat in my house. And prove me now herewith, saith the Lord of hosts, if I will not open the windows of heaven and pour you out a blessing, that there shall not be room enough to receive it. Unquote. We might add enough room to store it, enough. He will just keep pouring the blessings on us. If we knew that, wouldn't we be willing to get in an arrangement like that? Seems to me the smart money would. but we have a short perspective, a worldly perspective, and sometimes that can mislead us, and sometimes tragically it can take too much of our lives, and maybe a good portion of our lives dedicated to those things. But suppose you were really good at this, and you really good. Say you got into real estate and you had a real skill for it. You started by flipping houses, and then you started by expanding into building subdivisions, and then maybe whole towns. And before long, you were owning states and then nations until finally you owned the whole world. Now that ought to be smart money, right? Wrong. Shall we read again? This from Mark. This is the Lord Jesus speaking, and you know this. Quote, "For what shall it profit a man if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul?" Not so smart after all. So when looking for the real rewards, we should look beyond what the world would offer us and beyond the short time that we might control it. Look to the economics of eternity and take the goods that are offered for us there freely by the Lord who owns it all. Anything short of that is, in some measure, trying to buy things, give a life to get a stolen checkbook. Not going to work.